Welcome to the Matchmaker Mentor Podcast with Arlene Washburn, the show where love industry professionals, coaches, and matchmakers come to learn, grow, and elevate their craft. Each episode dives deep into the art and business of matchmaking, featuring expert insights, real-world strategies, and inspiring conversations designed to help you create meaningful connections and lasting success. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting your journey, this is your space to be mentored, motivated, and moved to make a difference in the world of love. Now here's your host, Arlene Washburn.
Matchmaking is changing, and the shift is neither subtle nor gradual. What is happening right now reflects a visible recalibration of the industry. Professional matchmaking has moved into open conversation. Clients discuss it openly, families talk about it, expectations have expanded, scrutiny has increased. Practices that once stayed behind the scenes are now part of public discussion and comparison. Clients no longer ask only whether matchmaking works. Questions now focus on how services are delivered, who is involved, and what standards guide the process. This episode walks through real shifts shaping professional matchmaking today. No predictions, no hype, only conditions already influencing how matchmakers operate and how clients evaluate professionalism. I'm Arlene Washburn, host of the Matchmaker Mentor Podcast. The show serves professional matchmakers and industry leaders who care about ethics, structure, sustainability, and operating at a high standard. The countdown focuses on operating realities professionals must respond to, whether preparation happened intentionally or by necessity. Let's begin at number 10. At number 10, matchmaking is no longer a secret. It has become a visible, intentional choice. Clients openly talk about working with a matchmaker. Conversations that once remained private now happen within families, social circles, and professional networks. Parents express concern about their adult children not meeting anyone and often seek professional support. Hiring a matchmaker is framed as a thoughtful investment in time, discretion, and structure. Visibility changes expectations. When services are discussed openly, professionalism and clarity become baseline requirements. At number 9, clients are investing in a professional experience and process rather than promised result. Client experience is shaped less by number of introductions and more by how supported and informed the client feels throughout the engagement. Communication, screening, emotional relief, professionalism, and pacing now define perceived value. Consider 2 common scenarios. In the first, a matchmaker sets expectations clearly and provides brief, consistent updates. Even when no suitable match is ready, the client receives a weekly check-in explaining what has been reviewed, what is in progress, and what comes next. The client feels informed and confident that the work is happening. In the second scenario, a matchmaker goes quiet for weeks at a time while searching. 3 weeks pass without communication. From the client's perspective, silence feels like abandonment. Questions arise. Has anything been done? Did something go wrong? Has the matchmaker disappeared? When the matchmaker finally returns with a strong potential introduction, frustration may already be present. The quality of the match struggles to overcome the breakdown in trust created by silence. Experience management is not about constant contact. It is about predictable communication. Clients expect to understand where they are in the process, even when progress happens behind the scenes. At number 8, prices rise and structure becomes mandatory. Matchmaking fees have increased across the industry, and client tolerance for ambiguity has dropped just as quickly. Higher price points bring higher expectations, not only around results, but around clarity, professionalism, and how the service is being delivered. A common failure pattern shows up repeatedly, especially with newer practitioners. Services are priced too low in an attempt to attract volume. For example, a matchmaker may charge $5,000 for a matchmaking engagement. To generate meaningful revenue, multiple clients are taken on at once. The math breaks down quickly once real workload is considered. Match sourcing alone often requires dozens of screening conversations, follow-ups, and disqualifications to identify a single qualified introduction. Client communication, coordination, documentation, and collaboration with other professionals continue throughout the engagement. Engagements commonly run 6 months or longer. Over that period, the total time invested per client frequently exceeds 75 hours and can climb well beyond that for complex or highly selective searches. Collaboration adds another real cost that is often overlooked in pricing conversations. Accessing qualified candidates from another professional's database can involve placement or access fees, often 500 plus for a single potential match. When multiple collaborators are involved over the life of the engagement, those costs materially reduce what the matchmaker ultimately earns. When multiple clients are stacked at a lower price point without accounting for time, duration, and collaboration costs, burnout follows. Service quality declines, clients feel the strain. By contrast, structured offerings change both the business model and the client experience. A higher priced, clearly scoped engagement with documented scope, timelines, and deliverables allows a matchmaker to work with fewer clients at a higher level of care. Time is allocated intentionally. Communication expectations are set, boundaries are clear. Structured offerings often take the form of tiered services. An entry-level package may include defined introductions and limited communication. A mid-tier package may add concierge coordination and collaboration with other professionals. A premium tier may include expanded search efforts, additional screening, and priority support. Each tier defines what is included and what is not. Higher prices are not the problem. Lack of structure is. Pricing without boundaries creates resentment on both sides. Structure protects the client experience and the sustainability of the business. When pricing and structure align, matchmakers have the time, energy, and clarity required to deliver professional service consistently. Sustainable pricing supports sustainable service delivery. At number 7, CRMs, customer relationship management tools, are no longer optional. They are safeguards. Professional disputes rarely begin with bad intentions. They begin when documentation is incomplete, scattered, or inconsistent. Verbal discussions feel efficient in the moment, but memory fades, tone gets lost, and expectations drift over time. A common dispute pattern looks like this. A client raises a concern about scope, pacing, or a representation that was discussed earlier in the engagement. The matchmaker remembers the conversation one way, the client remembers it another. Without written confirmation, summaries, or timestamps, the situation becomes subjective instead of factual. When communication is documented consistently, disputes change shape. Summaries of verbal conversations are confirmed in writing. Decisions, changes, and clarifications are logged in a single system of record. Expectations can be referenced rather than debated. Documentation also matters when privacy obligations come into play. Under modern data protection and privacy frameworks, including GDPR style and CCPA style regimes, clients may request access to their data or ask for certain information to be corrected or deleted. When records live across inboxes, text messages, note apps, and multiple platforms, responding accurately becomes difficult and risky. A centralized CRM allows practitioners to locate client data, understand what exists, and respond appropriately within required timeframes. That capability is not just administrative, it is a form of risk management. CRMs are not about mistrust or bureaucracy. They are about clarity, continuity, and responsible data handling. Documentation is not about mistrust. Documentation is about alignment, accountability, and responsible data handling. Here's a privacy-aware mantra. If you cannot easily find it, you cannot responsibly manage or remove it. Professionalism shows up in records that can be referenced, managed, and removed when required, not in conversations scattered across platforms. At number 6, collaboration has become monetized and transparency matters. Referral arrangements and shared placements exist across many professional industries. Matchmaking follows the same reality. Issues arise when financial relationships are not disclosed. Clients often assume referrals are based solely on fit and professional judgment. Undisclosed compensation changes how recommendations are perceived. Transparency protects trust. Referrals work best when made to professionals known to do good work and when financial relationships are disclosed clearly. Before continuing, a pause is appropriate because each point so far leads to one core reality: structure matters. The Matchmaker Mentor Podcast is supported by Love Pro Mastermind Academy, where professional matchmakers receive structured business training, ethical guidance, and operational frameworks designed to support sustainable practices. Earned certification through Love Pro Mastermind Academy reflects participation, implementation, and demonstrated readiness rather than attendance alone. For transparency, I'm the founder of the Love Pro Mastermind Academy. With that context in place, the conversation continues because structure without responsibility creates risk. At number 5, technology raises expectations rather than reducing accountability. Technology improves organization, speed, and access. Professional judgment, discretion, and responsibility remain with the matchmaker. Artificial intelligence is already embedded in many of the tools matchmakers use every day. Email automation, CRM-driven workflows, matchmaking algorithms, scheduling tools, and client-facing chat features all shape communication and decision-making, sometimes without being consciously labeled as AI. Guidance and expectations around AI use, transparency, and data responsibility are evolving rapidly across jurisdictions. Even when automation is passive or built into third-party platforms, accountability remains with the professional using the tool. Technology supports the process. Responsibility does not transfer to systems. And this creates a pattern worth noticing. From visibility and pricing to documentation, technology, and collaboration, the first half of this countdown points to the same underlying reality. Professional matchmaking has become more visible, more complex, and more scrutinized faster than many practitioners have adapted their operations. The remaining shifts focus less on external change and more on what responsible adaptation actually requires. At number 4, jurisdictional awareness has become unavoidable. Widespread use of video platforms has changed how matchmakers operate. Many now work with clients remotely and begin to describe their services as national or international without fully recognizing what that shift entails. Accepting clients across regional, national, or international boundaries introduces additional responsibilities, consumer protection standards, advertising rules, disclosure requirements, refund expectations, and cooling off periods can vary by jurisdiction. A recurring pattern appears when matchmakers assume location no longer matters because services are delivered virtually. Operating online does not eliminate jurisdictional obligation, it often expands them. Policies and contracts designed for one location frequently fail when applied broadly. Awareness and adaptation protect both businesses and clients. At number 3, niche clarity replaces the generalist model. Serving everyone creates misalignment. Defining who is served, who is not, and where scope begins and ends clarifies expectations. Niche positioning signals professionalism and reduces operational strain. At number 2, role clarity and scope control have become critical. As matchmaking becomes more visible and higher stakes, clients often assume services extend beyond what was formally agreed to. Emotional support, coaching, crisis management, image guidance, and on-demand access can quietly become part of expectations without ever being discussed. Problems arise when matchmakers attempt to handle issues without the appropriate training, credentials, or support in place. Many matchmakers do possess additional skills or retain qualified experts such as dating coaches, relationship coaches, therapists, or image consultants to support their clients effectively. Risk increases when practitioners try to do everything themselves without the necessary expertise, oversight, or scope definition. In those situations, outcomes suffer and professional exposure grows. Clear role definition protects everyone involved. Scope belongs in contracts, onboarding, documentation, and ongoing communication. Referrals to qualified professionals are not a failure of service, they are a mark of professionalism. Role clarity is not about distance. Role clarity is about operating responsibly and sustainably in a higher stakes environment. At number one, trust has become the product. Higher fees, public visibility, virtual delivery, monetized collaboration, and automated tools have all raised the stakes. Clients are no longer evaluating individual interactions. They are evaluating whether the entire operation feels credible, consistent, and accountable. Trust erodes quickly when communication goes quiet, when documentation is missing, when roles are blurred, or when decisions feel opaque. No amount of branding or confidence compensates for operational gaps. Professional matchmakers build trust through systems, clear scope, consistent communication, documented agreements, transparent collaboration, responsible data handling. When trust breaks, outcomes, referrals, and reputation break with it. Trust is not a marketing asset. Trust is not a promise. Trust is the cumulative result of how the business operates when no one is watching. That is why trust is no longer a byproduct of matchmaking. Trust is the product. Now, it is time for the Compliance Corner. The Compliance Corner, sponsored by the International Matchmaking Compliance Board, focuses on professional responsibility, operational standards, and risk areas affecting matchmakers as the industry continues to evolve. Jurisdictional responsibility sits at the center of many emerging issues. A common compliance failure occurs when a matchmaker accepts a client remotely, delivers services virtually, and assumes that local rules no longer apply. Problems arise when a dispute or complaint triggers a review of refund terms, disclosures, or advertising language that does not align with the client's location. For example, a matchmaker may rely on a single contract and set of policies while serving clients across multiple regions. When expectations differ, or when a client invokes local consumer protections, the lack of jurisdictional specific adaptation becomes a liability rather than a formality. Responsible operators recognize that compliance requires awareness, not perfection. Researching applicable requirements through regional consumer protection agencies, regulatory guidance, and qualified advisors allows matchmakers to adjust contracts, disclosures, or policies where needed. Compliance is not about guaranteeing outcomes or eliminating risk entirely. It is about demonstrating good faith effort, transparency, and professionalism as standards continue to evolve. That context matters because the goal here is awareness, not instruction. This segment is educational in nature and does not constitute legal advice. Qualified professionals should be consulted regarding jurisdiction-specific obligations. For transparency, I am also the founder of the International Matchmaking Compliance Board. Before closing, one final point deserves emphasis. The future of professional matchmaking belongs to those who operate with clarity, structure, and integrity. Ongoing insight into professional matchmaking developments is available through the Business Intelligence Brief for Matchmakers on the Radar. The free resource shares industry-level insight, ethical considerations, and strategic perspectives designed to support informed decision-making. The link appears in the show notes. Following the Matchmaker Mentor Podcast on YouTube and Spotify ensures future episodes are not missed. Before we close, I want to leave you with a short implementation pause. Here are 3 questions to ask yourself this week. First, could you locate and export all client data from a single system within 24 hours if a client or authority legally requested it? Second, do your contracts, onboarding materials, and ongoing communications clearly define what you do and what you do not do, including when another professional is better suited to support the client? Third, have you reviewed your policies, disclosures, and service terms against the regions, countries, or jurisdictions where your clients are actually located, not just where your business is based? Those questions are not about perfection. They are about readiness. Professional matchmaking is no longer evaluated only by outcomes. It is evaluated by how responsibly, transparently, and consistently the work is done. Thank you for taking this work seriously and for helping shape the next chapter of professional matchmaking.
If today's episode resonated, make sure you're subscribed to the Matchmaker Mentor Podcast on YouTube and Spotify. New episodes are released weekly and are designed to support professional matchmakers who want to operate with clarity, structure, and integrity. You can also join our monthly industry brief, On the Radar, for ongoing insight into what's changing behind the scenes in professional matchmaking. Until next time, stay grounded in your standards, intentional in your systems, and committed to doing this work at a higher level. I'm Arlene Washburn, and this is the Matchmaker Mentor Podcast.